Ladies and gentlemen, and fight fans around the world, this is All Access MMA.
My next guest didn't need much time at all to pick up his last victory, getting a quick first-round submission victory over Kelvin Gastelum at UFC Fight Night on July 18th. It is the Joker, Jack Hermansson, back here on the program. Jack, how's it going?
Thanks for having me back. It's going good, my man. All good with the win in my back, so it's great.
Yeah, have you stopped smiling since that victory? I love seeing the post-fight interview and obviously getting your hand raised and everything. I mean, this has got to be one of your biggest wins in your career. How do you look back on that performance?
Yeah, definitely. I rate it very, very high. Super happy with the performance, you know. First round victory, that's what you want, right? So I couldn't be more happy. So and with the finish, you know, it's perfect.
Now, you've had first-round submission victories before. There was that David Branch win you had, a few years back. But Calvin's a pretty tough guy to submit. Did you feel like the fight was going to play out like that? Or did you just see an opening and you're like, I got to go for this and submit this guy?
Like in my mind, you're going through many different scenarios, like hundreds probably. But one of the most common ones that came up into my head was the heel victory. So it was definitely up there in the top 3 finishes in my mind before the fight.
And even though it was super quick, was there anything that surprised you at all about Kelvin in the fight? I mean, he looked in pretty good shape, but once it got to the mat, like I said, you capitalized.
Yeah, but that beautiful throw, man, the lateral drop that he did, that was beautiful. He really timed that well when I came in for my own takedown. So impressed by that. But when we get down there, I felt very comfortable. I knew what I was going to do, and I went for it, and it played out well.
And this is an opponent who went 5 rounds with Israel Adesanya, the champion. You took him out in the first round. Do you feel like this is the type of win that kind of makes people forget about that last fight and that you're still on that track to getting a title shot?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope people see all of my 6 fights that I had and the result as a whole, not only the last fight. So if we don't look at the Copenhagen fight, I've been doing pretty good, before that as well. So I think I'm in a good position right now. How
surprised were you didn't get the bonus?
I'm not surprised. There were beautiful finishes on that card, man. That knee bar and everything. Saying
that though, you took out a more notable opponent in my opinion. I mean, Gastelum, like I said, we're talking about a guy who almost won the middleweight title, the interim title last year, beating Israel Adesanya. So I obviously, there was some other good performances, but I felt like as far as the wins go, you got the biggest win in my opinion. But I guess they don't factor that in.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, maybe not. And sometimes, if you make it look too easy, it's it's not good either. So it's just quick in and out. So I'm happy with that. Hopefully I can collect the bonus in the next one.
And obviously the UFC's got to be happy about that performance. Again, the middleweight division is one of the hottest ones right now. Has your management or did you have a chance to talk to Dana White or the UFC at all after? Because they must be pretty impressed.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything yet, actually. So it's going to be interesting to see where we end up, and especially after the fight that's coming up this weekend, right? So we'll see what the discussion looks like.
Yes. Now, talking about that fight that the time of recording this, obviously Robert Whittaker, Darren Till are fighting. So you want the winner, right? That was my understanding in the post-fight interviews that you'd want to fight the winner of that?
Exactly. That's the fight to make. I don't want to be fighting backwards. I want to be fighting someone in the top 5. And I think the winner between those guys would be perfect. Because I don't feel like the winner should get the title fight right away anyway. Because Whittaker, he lost to Adesanya, and then Darren Till, he has only had, one fight or something in middleweight. So he's not there either. They should put Cannonier on the title before that. So I feel like the winner between those two would be perfect.
Well, who's winning on Saturday? I got to ask. I know it sucks making fight picks, but this is really important because it's going to determine potentially who your next opponent is. So who do you think is winning on Saturday?
I believe Robert Whittaker will win, actually. Yeah.
How do you see him getting it done? Do you see it as a knockout or a hard-fought decision? How do you see it going down?
Probably a knockout. He's really good, closing in the distance quick. He launches in a little bit of that karate style that he has, and Whittaker kind of stalks his opponents down. And I think that blitz from Whittaker can remind a little bit of Jorge Masvidal's thing. So yeah, I think Whittaker will get this one.
Now, who do you think, in terms of the winner of this fight, who do you think has a better chance of, potentially fighting for the title? Because I do have some worries because, Whittaker was a former champ. If he gets a win here on Saturday, maybe they take that in consideration that he was the former champ and that maybe they want to get him back in there. Conversely, if Darren Till wins, they seem to be very high on him. I remember they did an entire event basically around him when he fought Wonderboy Thompson. They gave him that big Kelvin Gastelum fight in his middleweight debut at UFC 244. Who do you think, if they win, would potentially, get maybe leapfrogging and get that title shot? Is that something you're worried about at all?
It is, and it's Darren Till, man. If he wins, he's a seller. He sells so good. They want him to be good. They want him up there. So I really believe that if he wins, it's going to be harder to get that fight.
Yes, and in terms of that, if is this part of you kind of rooting for Rob just because then you might be able to get that fight?
Yes, I root for him, but my prediction is still neutral based. Yeah.
Right. Okay. No, that's good. That's good. I like hearing that for sure. How did you celebrate after the win on Saturday? Because I know a lot of stuff was on lockdown. Did you get to enjoy yourself at all? Go and have a good meal, anything like that?
No, it was not much of a celebration, to be honest, but. I was just enjoying myself and smiling with the win, and it was enough just enjoying the win, actually. So when I came home, my girlfriend, she bought some flowers and some ice cream for me, so I celebrated here.
What type of ice cream? I got to know. You got my curiosity piqued.
Yeah, I can't eat lactose, so it's Ben & Jerry's without dairy. So they
interesting.
Have
Yeah, I see now they make, well, at least in Canada, they have one. They have a Ben & Jerry's one that's made with almonds, I think, instead of actual dairy. I don't know how they do that, but
that's the one.
Okay, yeah, because it's good. I've had it. I can attest to this. So it's not just that's interesting. Have you always been lactose intolerant?
No, I think it started around my 20s.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, dairy's not great for you anyways. I think you look at any book. You don't need to drink milk, right? You can get calcium from, other stuff. And I think people are seeing now that it's really hard in the digestive system. So I think in general, you're probably good to stay away from dairy. Do you find a lot of your teammates are kind of the same way, that dairy's not really a lot of a benefit?
Yeah, it's getting away from that, as you say, and more and more don't include it into the diet. So I'm just missing out on some good chocolate and sweets, and that's about it.
So you're stuck in quarantine for the next 10 days. This is something we were talking about. What are you going to do? You're a guy that's used to going out and training and keeping busy. So what are you able to do in quarantine?
The thing is that it's not super strict in Norway. They are leaving it a little bit up to you. As long as you don't stay in contact with people outside of your household, you're allowed to basically go out and stuff. So I enjoy fishing, so I'll probably go into the woods for a couple of days. Nice.
Have you always been into fishing?
Yeah, since I was a kid, man. It's
very cool. Okay, that's awesome, because we're living in Canada. That's a huge thing here, is people fish all the time. What's the biggest fish you've caught, or what was one of your most memorable fishing trips that you've had?
I caught a 12.5 kilo pike.
Really?
Yeah, that's one of my better fish, so I'm proud of that one.
That's great. Do you get out, I guess you can't really fish during training camp, or do you?
No, not as much, sometimes, but fishing is, it's rough on your body as well, and it might be at odd hours and so on, so I don't get to fish too much during training camp, so that's always something I'm looking forward to after my fights, to get out and do some fishing.
Does your girlfriend go fishing with you?
No, unfortunately not.
Because I was going to say, you got to be pretty patient if you're not the one fishing. So that would be pretty interesting. So, now, do you bring any alcohol? Because a lot of people like drinking when they fish.
I don't. Sometimes I bring a little bit of whiskey, but I noticed that if I bring it, I tend to drink a little bit too much of it. So
and then that's not fun, being in a boat and you've drank too much, right? So
yeah, you're just you're not get bored, but it tastes very good in nature, and you're just sipping on it, and suddenly the bottle is empty, and I know it's not good for me, so I try to stay away from it.
Okay, fair enough. Have you done any like fishing trips, or is it just like stuff close to home?
Most close. So like the nature here is just amazing. It's nearby, so it's always close to a great nature experience. So I usually just fish in Norway and Sweden.
Very cool. Okay. Well, see, I always learn something every interview. I didn't know this about the whole fishing thing. So you got my interest piqued. My last question, kind of on the same line of questioning. Is there any TV shows you're looking forward to catching up on during this quarantine, or any movies, anything you got saved up that you couldn't watch during camp?
Yeah, I actually looking forward to see the new Bruce Lee documentary.
It's great. The ESPN one, the 30 for 30?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah, I feel like we talked about this last time. It is really good. The only thing I'll say that I didn't like is, for whatever reason, they didn't have a lot of people on camera when they were talking about them describing Bruce Lee, so they just had their like audio underneath like some video, which I found kind of weird. When I'm watching a documentary, I like to see the person talking. That's the only. I don't think I spoiled anything for you, but that's just one thing I noticed.
Yeah. I can agree. So we'll see if I enjoy it. I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan. He was one of my inspirations when I grew up. So you have to watch that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, you certainly gained some more fans last week with that win, Jack. Again, congratulations. If you wanted to thank anyone, any sponsors, any social media you want to plug, the floor is yours, sir.
I want to thank all my fans that are following me and supporting me. Thank you so much. And also make sure, if you don't follow me, that you check out my Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Jack the Joker MMA.